It is my deep joy to share with you some thoughts about the importance of Joseph, especially in this time of crisis of the family, when there are many forces, evil forces, that are trying to undermine it and to propose all kinds of alternatives to the plan which God had from the very beginning. I would like to begin with a very fascinating story. During my years in Rome, I came to know the late Cardinal Carlo Caffarra, Archbishop Emeritus of Bologna, and founder of the John Paul II Institute for Studies on the Family. When, as Monsignor Caffarra, he was asked to take over this task by Pope St. John Paul II, he wrote a letter to Sister Lucia, the remaining visionary of Fatima. Of course, she has since died, but while her little cousins died much, much earlier, at the beginning of the 20th century, she died at its very end. And he was deeply surprised to discover that she actually wrote him a letter in return. And so I would like to quote from that. To my great surprise, the Cardinal said, after not more than 2 or 3 weeks, I received a reply. It was a handwritten letter and quite long. I have given sworn testimony of what the letter said. The letter ended saying, in 1983 or 1984, Father, a time will come when the decisive battle between the kingdom of Christ and Satan will be over marriage and the family. And those who will work for the good of the family will experience persecution and tribulation. But do not be afraid, because Our Lady has already crushed his head. In recent years, we have become aware of the attack on the family by all kinds of external and evil influences. The promotion of same-sex marriage, the glorification of homosexuality, the attack on biological gender. These are very, very serious attacks. And Joseph, who also appeared on the 13th of October, 1917, was seen in the sky by the 3 children. He was holding the infant Jesus in his arms as they both blessed the world. I believe that was a very prophetic vision. 2 others followed. But to show us the importance of the role of Joseph. The 20th century already made profound attacks against the man as husband and father. Attacks in this sense, obviously, they were orchestrated from below. But early on in the 20th century, there was the First World War. Terrible carnage followed upon it as there were pitched battles in ditches. And many men did not return home. Others returned home maimed. Others had profound mental difficulties, which today we describe rather easily as PTSD. But in those ancient days, no one fully grasped that. But I had a great uncle about whom they used to say, he was in the First World War, he was gassed in the war, to explain his sometimes erratic or strange behavior. Within another generation, there was the Second World War, then the Korean War, then the Vietnam War, and then the seemingly unending wars. And after each of these, enduring them, men did not come home because they were killed in the war. And those who did came back maimed physically or often psychologically. Add to this the poison of radical feminism. And slowly there has been this very serious attack on masculinity, on what it means to be a man. We also recognize today that while people are not born with a same-sex attraction, that it does in many cases develop very early in life. And it has often been discovered that it is because there is a real lack of male involvement with boys, even more than with girls, because God willed that the family should be of husband and wife, mother and father. And so there are many who go through life suffering from this same-sex attraction. Now, God in his infinite mercy can certainly heal this if we keep seeking that healing. Today, the propaganda for homosexuality is overwhelming. Even the bank that I go to has signs on either side of its main entrance to the effect of the promotion in June of Gay Pride. Wonderful pride. Pride is wonderful. Pride is also one of the capital sins and probably the most deadly. Therefore, we begin to recognize what I've already alluded to in another presentation, that Joseph's extraordinary holiness, willed by God, was precisely for the sake of his influence, his human influence, on Jesus. Joseph was the loving father. He is the one from whom Jesus learned how to be a male. When a boy does not have that experience, it can be devastating, even into old age. How much we need the grace of God to overcome this, and how much we need the example and intercession of St. Joseph. I attended a seminar many years ago dealing with pornography. It was presented by a woman who had a doctorate in psychology and a master's degree in social work. And she maintained that it is harder for men today to be men than it is for women to be women. Precisely because of these effects which I've already indicated, the cumulative effect of wars and the downgrading of men by poisonous, rigid, feminism. I'm sure there will be those who will hotly disagree with me, but I believe the evidence is there for all of us to see. Just yesterday, I watched a dialogue with Milo Yiannopoulos, a well-known figure because of his brilliance in rhetoric and debate, who, by the grace of God, has stopped resisting the pull of his human nature to same-sex relationships. And he affirmed this once again, lamenting the fact that he grew up effectively without the influence of a loving father. Joseph is that loving father. Now, of course, God is the father. Joseph is in a sense, his shadow, as many French mystics and theologians of the 1600s held. But it is more than time for us to recognize the importance of Joseph for men. Man and woman are made for each other, but they have different roles. And Joseph is the head of the Holy Family, even though he is less than Mary, and Mary is less than Jesus, who is divine. But God provided Joseph so that Jesus would have a human father. True, not biologically, but in every other way. He was the legal father of Jesus. Now, many like to speak about him as the foster father of Jesus. I prefer the term virginal father of Jesus. There is a book that was written not long ago by a notable lay theologian, Brant Petrie. And in it, he points out something that has been denied for a very long time by modern scholars, that there was no ideal of virginity in the Old Testament. In fact, he goes to the book of Numbers and indicates that it was possible for a husband and wife to live a virginal marriage if the wife proposed it and the man did not deny it. So we have very good indication that Joseph may justly be called the virginal father of Jesus. Obviously, the great, huge majority of men in marriage are not living a virginal marriage because they're meant to be the fathers of children. But they are called to be chaste, to live their marital lives in full conformity with the law of God. Joseph then also becomes a model here, head of the Holy Family, protector of virgins. These are beautiful insights into his role. Saint Joseph is also venerated as the patron of a happy death. He disappears from the scene before the beginning of the public life of Jesus. But we have every good reason to believe that even through all of his sufferings, in providing very humbly and simply for Jesus and Mary, that he died in their embrace. What more could anyone ask for? Joseph, obviously, in the course of his earthly life, suffered in union with Jesus and Mary. He heard the words of Simeon, who addressed Mary, saying that a sword will pierce your own heart, so that the thoughts of many hearts may be laid bare. Joseph heard those words, but they were not addressed to him. A number of more recent saints, like Peter Julian Amart, would point out that his very great sorrow would be that he would not be on Calvary. He would not be there to support Mary in her grief and his virginal son. That is why there are those who argue that Joseph, in a lesser way than Mary, participated in the redemption of the world. His suffering was an anticipated suffering, and yet it was very real as he recognized what was going to take place and that he could not be there as a support. Indeed, for this reason, Jesus spoke his words to Mary, indicating John, "Behold your mother." And then he says first to Mary, "Woman, behold your son." Woman, because she is the new Eve. And then, son, behold your mother. So Joseph has actually been referred to by John Paul II and Pope Francis as sharing in the redemption. I would like to add one word that wouldn't come into my head when I wanted it to, one of the instances of growing old, that the word specifically that was used by Pope St. John Paul II and also by Pope Francis in inaugurating this year of St. Joseph, he was given the title, and also Pope Francis asked that it be integrated into the litany of St. Joseph, Minister Salutis, which means that Joseph is a minister of salvation. That along with Mary's ministry of salvation next to Jesus, not the source of our salvation, but the channel through which our salvation comes, and a co-sufferer in union with Jesus, so also St. Joseph is legitimately called a minister of salvation, collaborating with the other two members of the Holy Family, the earthly Trinity. And so the Church, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, continues to come to a deeper grasp of the role of St. Joseph, the one who is the greatest saint in heaven after Mary. The protector of the Holy Family is meant to be our protector, the protector of all families that come under attack ever more by all the secular authorities in the world. Joseph, we beg you, come to our aid. Come to help us. Help fathers to learn their role in the family as its head. That doesn't mean the father is greater than the mother, but it does mean that his role is given by God. And now, as he is the protector of the church, let us venerate him and call upon him at this time when the church and the world are in such great need of virginal fathers, of chaste fathers, of those who bring their children into a deep relationship with Jesus and Mary. Saint Joseph, intercede for us.